Hello everyone. I'm super excited to be with you, and I give thanks. I give thanks for this day, and I give thanks for all the experiences that I had today. And I am so grateful to be with you. And I think about the spirits of land and place, and I think about how grateful I am for life and for all of the ways in which our body is nourished and kept alive. And I think of how life needs death as food, life and death, the life, death, life cycle. So I think about the life, death, life cycle. And I just think that's so interesting. And I was thinking about prayer today, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it in our conversation this evening. And, um, when I think about prayer, I think that we all have a prayer. And I don't think we remember that per se necessarily, but we all have a conversation that's happening with the divine, with the creator, with the essence of who we really are. And that we have an opportunity in prayer. I think when I think about prayer, I think we have an opportunity to get closer to ourselves, to know ourselves, and to get closer with ourselves. And so I think about the different prayers that I say. Sometimes I'll say prayers where I'm like asking for something. So I'm just like, oh, usually it's peace of mind. Usually it's something like, oh, creator, help me to have peace of mind, or help me to be the person that I really want to be, and not maybe the person that I feel like I'm being in the moment. Or help me to give what you want me to give. There's a really beautiful a prayer from the recovery movement called the third step prayer, and it's creator, I offer myself to you, to build with me and do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self, or self-seeking and self-serving and fear, that I may better do your will, and that I may be an example, or that I may bear witness to your love, your power, and your way of life. May I do your will always. Thank you so much. And so I just think it's such a beautiful way that because I also like to think of prayer as a way to surrender, in a way to be like, okay, great spirit, I'm surrendering all of this to you. And I'm not going to tell you what to do. So there's kind of I'm going to tell you what to do prayer, or here, let me instruct you, creator, about what to do. And then there's also the prayer of, I'm surrendering this to you. And I know that you'll know what to do with it, because you created all these other wonders, all this greatness that I experience every day, everywhere that I go. So you can probably handle my things, creator. And so just knowing that creator can handle your things is another nice way that I like to think about the surrender prayers. And then there's also prayers where we are, really kind of getting out of the way of the mystery, but also where we're offering our service, to life. We're offering our service to life, to others, to the mystery. And so there's also prayers of service, where we're asking how we can help. And so there's so many amazing prayers. And I had been doing some DNA research, and I've made some interesting discoveries in that DNA research. And I also have the ancestors from my mother's side, and I have ancestors from my father's side. But one of the things that I think is interesting that my Honka mom taught me, and then also my birth mom have taught me, which is everything is related. Everyone's related. So at the end of our prayers, we say Hom Adakayasan, or we say, all my relatives, because what's true is that we're impacting each other, and really we are all related, and we're all relatives. And it's important that when we pray, we recognize that we are in a conversation with the divine, and we're also in a conversation with with everything else in the world. You know, when uh, we're speaking for our relatives, but we're also speaking to our relatives, and that really is the prayer of, we're all related. And so in that research that I've been doing, I recognized or learned some things about my lineage that I didn't know, and so I'm researching a little bit about that lineage, and just the prayers. What I notice is I notice just the common ground that's in the confluence of all these ancestors that are in my body and in my blood, and all these different races that have converged in one person. It's so amazing to me. Um, and so I think that it's interesting for us all to explore that, and the knowledge that, oh, there are people that I thought weren't my ancestors that are. And so that's just a surprise. And then there's people that are just such a surprise to me. So I'm processing all of that, and that's a lot to process for one human being in their brain. But also just the knowledge of how it feels, and the knowledge that everybody prays. There's no culture, no tradition in the world that doesn't want to connect with the divine. And we all want to connect with the divine, or we all know that there's something even greater that we're dreaming, and that we're dreaming that together. And so I would just wonder, like, what are my prayers? Like, what are the prayers that I have, and um, and uh, how can I be in the prayer of my life? Because we only get a short time here. So it's, our life is also our prayer. Our life is also, how we're connecting with meaning and making meaning. And it's, I believe, of the essence now that we develop ourselves spiritually in a way that is kind, in a way that is connected, in a way that recognizes, uh, that we really are related to to everything, and that our relatives are really, we are the convergence of all the ancestors, and we've been brought here to do the things that our ancestors couldn't dare to do. And that we've been called here to do the things that our ancestors didn't have the courage to do, or maybe didn't have the heart to do. And so they may have had the heart and the courage to do many things, uh, and they delivered us here, as their messengers, but also as ways to build a better future together. And so I would wonder what that prayer would be. It was really interesting today too that I was sitting here and I was working. I was doing a mentoring session with someone, and I saw an otter. And I haven't seen. I think I've seen. It's not a common sight for me, but I haven't seen otters hanging out. Like, that's not something that I've seen a lot of here. And it was a gift just to see this otter. And I was in this mentorship with someone, with a mentee that I've been working with for many, many years, and I was talking to them about this experience with the otter, that the otter had come. And I was thinking about how otters, one of the things they have to do is they have to keep themselves dry, or else they'll drown. So they have to make sure to keep their buoyancy. So one of the things that how they keep their buoyancy is they're constantly cleaning their fur. And I just love that. I love that image of them, how they're constantly, and that's how they maintain their buoyancy, is with the air. And so they have this air that's around them. But then one of the images that I love that I see of them is how they will hold hands in order to keep from floating away from each other, and that's one of the ways that they create safety, and one of the ways that they stay together. But I almost see their togetherness as this, and they're holding hands as a collective prayer. Like, that's one of the ways that the otters can stay together. And also, one of the things I love about otters is that they know how to play, and they know how to frolic, and they know how to, they may need to maintain this buoyancy. They may need to do all these fastidious things to hold vigil over their ability to stay buoyant. But they stay together by, holding hands. And then they also they get out of the water and make slides, and they slide down just for the pleasure of doing that. And so I really appreciate that, that they do that. And then they also, they float on their backs, which I just think is so amazing. They float on their backs and they eat their food on their backs. And so, I just think about, oh my gosh, how great it is that that the otters are my relatives, and that I had this special visit today from one of my relatives, and I was reflecting on that today, and how much I love the otters, but also that the otter came from my client. The otter also came from my clients today. Like the otter was a part of my experience throughout the day. So I had this wonderful experience of having this visitation. And I have been working, and looking at these different prayers for healing and different invocations. And there are these really wonderful, these are prayers that I've been researching a bit um, as I've been exploring some of my lineage. But there's these really beautiful prayers. And one of these prayers is these are short one-line prayers that are located in the mysticism of sound. And I really like the idea of like a one-line prayer. Like if we have a one line, it's like something we can say that is saying, oh, I'm connected to divinity. I'm connected to what is divine. I'm connected to nature. I'm connected to, and it's a way that we can connect to everything in the moment. And especially when we need to, like in those moments where we're like, oh my gosh, I need a little help right now. And one of the cool things is that we can memorize prayers from our lineage, or also, favorite prayers from our parents. Maybe our parents had a favorite prayer that they said in those moments. And maybe it was, who knows what kind of prayer it is or what the tradition is, but we all have prayers from our lineage and from our people and from the different nations. And so, I do this very consciously because this is something that's new for me. This is a new awareness for me. But then also, I have my lineage and my culture. And so I have my own lineage and my own culture. And the new identities are always emerging in us, regardless. So I just really wanted to share some of these one line prayers with you. So one is, help me to serve your cause, Creator. So Creator, help me to serve your cause. Oh, Spirit of guidance. I love that one. Oh, isn't that good? Oh, Spirit of guidance, throw thy divine light on my path. Like just that could help me a lot every day. Like, oh, Spirit of guidance, please throw your divine light on my path. This is a really beautiful one too. My life is changing and taking a better turn. My life is changing and making a better turn. My body is healed, my mind is fortified, and my soul is illuminated by the grace of God. Isn't that beautiful? Or the grace of Creator, or the Buddha, or whatever your lineage, spiritual or blood lineage is. Fortify my heart. Isn't that a good one? Fortify my heart. In other words, make my heart strong. I really appreciated that. And so I like these short one-line prayers located in the mysticism of sound. And then there's another that I really liked that's here. And then I also have these prayers, and these are more blessings over our food, or prayers over our food. And one of my favorite prayers is the prayer of thank you. And there's also another prayer that I like is to just simply say the short prayer of, please help me. I could use some help right now. Could you please help me? But there's also prayers of grace. And so I really also appreciate prayers and mealtime prayers that are with us. But in the spirit of us all being related, then we know that we take ourselves in as nourishment. We take ourselves in as food. And so I like this, O Spirit of life, bless the meal we are about to share. May we build bonds of friendship and community. May we feel gratitude for our good fortune of being here today. And may our actions flow from these good thoughts and feelings to serve the common good. And so that's kind of a non-denominational prayer, or a prayer that doesn't require the naming of anything except the spirit of life. So we can even make our prayer about, inviting in, making an invitation to the spirit of life, which is taking care of us. And it makes me feel very happy to know that we're attending to, or that I'm attending to, or that I'm connected to a spirit of life. And so just to even thank the spirit of life is a prayer in its own kind of way. And this is a really beautiful, this is compiled, these are prayers of healing. This is compiled by the Sufi Healing Order, and this is an invocation. And this is a Sufi invocation. And it says, toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being, united with all the illuminated souls who form the embodiment of the Master, the Spirit of Guidance, the Spirit of Guidance. And that is a Sufi invocation, which I love. And so in the spirit of that, it's toward the one, and that we're all a part of the one, and that we're being called to think about and to serve the common good. And so I would wonder this week if you could think about, like, what is my prayer around the common good? And if I could live my life as a prayer, what would that prayer be? But what would my invocation? What would my invocation be? Whether it's an invocation to the spirit of life, whether it is an invocation that involves the Buddha, or whether it is an invocation that involves, Yamaya or Kali or Amachi or Parvati, or, the Buddha or Muhammad, or, who is it? The spirit of life, the tree of life, life itself, the animals, animism. What is your prayer, and how can we recognize that we're all related? So thank you, relatives, and may we continue to be well and continue to be nourished. Thank you so much. I'll talk with you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.